Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the second session of Codscom Industry Track today. So, we would start this session with an invited talk by Goda Ramkumar, immediately followed by industry paper session on machine learning in practice. So, let's get started with the invited talk first. And it's my honor to introduce our invited speaker, Goda Ramkumar. Goda is ranked as one of top 10 data scientists in India by Analytics India magazine in 2018. She is currently principal data scientist at Swiggy, focusing on core logistics. Prior to this, she was GM of data science at X to 10X, establishing data science journey and practice in the startup ecosystem. And previously, she was at Ola for 2 years as principal data scientist, where she led machine learning and optimization algorithms behind pricing and matching. Goda holds an undergraduate and master's degree from IIT Madras. So today, Goda would be delivering a talk on a super exciting and relevant topic for industry track, that is enabling convenience for next billion through data science, a single beast or a swarm. So during today's talk, I would like to request audience to key in their questions in Q&A chat window, and we would take these questions towards the end of the talk. And with this, I would like to request Goda to start with her talk. Over to you, Goda.
Thanks, Tanuja, for that wonderful introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Cool. Hello, everyone. I know 1 p.m. that on the second day of the new year during lunchtime may not be the best time to listen to.
Goda, you went on mute, I guess.
Is it better now?
Yeah,
Are you here? Okay.
yes.
Cool. So I'll try to keep this engaging. So we have half an hour. So we'll use the first 20 minutes where I'll kind of I know the topic itself seems what does a single beast or a swarm mean here? So this is like a compilation of what I've learned across my journey, as most of it involved either transportation or ride hailing or hyper local delivery and a bunch of startups in the similar space. So I'll try to compile all the lessons that I learned, and what looks as a single beast has a lot of nuances when we go deeper into each of those. So I'll try to capture that in 20 minutes, and we can use the last 20 minutes, last 10 minutes for Q&A session. Cool. So let me get started with this. So I'll just start with what convenience means. So initially, like it would all be like food, shelter, and clothing, right? Roti, makan, kapda. But today, convenience has become one of the basic needs at the bottom of that pyramid. And the last year of COVID would have definitely added to that, where we were not able to move out of the shelter. So any food and clothing had to come through one of the means of convenience, which is offered by a lot of players in this domain today, right? So you can see a bunch of companies there, Swiggy being one of them, right? So this is why kind of convenience has become one of the fundamental needs of human survival as of today, and we have got used to getting things at door. So as a data scientist, when you look at this problem of delivering convenience to consumers and take a very high level view of it, like a 10K feet view of it, at a high level, we would all ask the first question: what is the goal of these companies who are trying to deliver this convenience, right? So at a high level, every business kind of wants to achieve the same kind of things. You want to be profitable operationally, you want to deliver great customer experience, and you want to deliver a great partner experience, because most of these are kind of either two-sided or three-sided marketplaces, right? So to achieve this goal, if we think about what kind of decisions are these organizations making, and what are the levers they are exercising for this, right? Typically, they would all look the same at a 10K feet. For example, if we have to start with where the customer starts with these apps, the first one would be the discovery experience. How are you discovering the service being offered? Then you would go into like how that service has been priced, and once you place an order, how you are kind of getting matched to different partners who have to deliver this convenience to you. And then, of course, how they are getting routed to reach you. And definitely to handle all these operationally, you might be kind of forming some kind of zones or location zones for management, right? So let's just stick to these 5 levers as of today, given the duration of the talk, and try to see what problems is data science solving here, or in a different way to put it is, if we have to kind of use any models to exercise these levers or make these decisions, what would those data science models be, right? So at a high level, if we have to look at it, when we talk of discovery experience, of course there are models to kind of match, like come up with the relevance scores for what the customer is looking for and what is in offer, and to make the right recommendation. When we talk about pricing, it's kind of an optimization, which would either be a simple linear programming problem or a non-linear programming problem to solve. When we are matching partners to orders, of course it's a bipartite kind of an assignment problem to solve. When we are routing, we have vehicle routing. You're trying to come up with, the fastest way to reach the customer at minimum cost, so it's like a vehicle routing problem. And any kind of zones you want to form with location zones is a, some kind of a geospatial clustering problem. And I missed out the last one, which is the how you are doing the payments and incentivizing the supply side of the marketplace. And of course, there you need to know the response models of how people respond to incentives, and the cost aspect that you need to optimize for. So at a 10K feet, all these look very similar, right? So when I was in Ola, and then I was working with some mobility startups, early startups, and now I'm at Swiggy, there are a lot of these deja vu moments where I feel, oh, it's the same problem, and you almost start getting confident that we have done all of this and we should be able to do it again, right? But what uh, does not anyone make anyone like me who kind of traverses these domains an expert in this, because as you move from 10K feet to probably 1,000 feet, you start realizing the nuances in each of these problems that vary with each of the convenience providers, right? So to understand what I mean by that better, let's just pick each of these levers one by one and try to go through it to understand what are those nuances, right? So let's pick the first one, which is discovery experience, right? This is how the customer is discovering the service that's there on offer. So as you can see, I've kind of, the companies there are spaced a little differently. They are forming two clusters there. So anyone on the chat want to kind of guess what makes these two groups different from each other? I'm just looking for some responses on chat, just to make the lunch break not so lazy. Would anyone like to respond on chat as to what makes these two different? Yeah, bang on, right? So if you look at the left side, it is more of, it's a uh, necessary evil kind of, which is a need, versus on the right side, which is more of, leisure or more experience oriented than, you have to get it done kind of on a to-do list. So which is why when we talk of discovery experience here, it's kind of a necessary evil versus an experience driven. The whole problem to be solved kind of becomes different, even from a data science perspective. If you think about it, when you are doing a necessary evil, you want to spend minimum amount of time. There is enough level of clarity on what you want, and hence even for a data science model to predict what the customer wants will have a more definite pattern to it. So probably you would, even if you start off with a simple time series model to predict what the customer wants, or just kind of create a smart basket kind of thing based on the customer's own history, you might be delivering a significant level of improvement in the discovery experience. Whereas when we talk about more leisure driven, like either fashion or food, there is you want the customer to spend more time exploring the options and enjoy that experience, as well as explore more and try out different options, which means whatever the customer's history is there with us, we need to kind of abstract it out into probably you will go into creating embeddings of customers taste and trying to use that in the models to recommend, so that you recommend more similar but still catering to customers taste. And a simple exact one-on-one mapping with history might not work here, right? So that's just one nuance. So hence the pattern of consumption versus abstraction is what kind of becomes different here. The second one is how search oriented it is. So when there is a significant level of clarity in the customer's mind as to what they are looking for, like when I'm looking for a cab, I exactly know where I want to go, so I'll directly search for the location, and that's where and I want that to happen as fast as possible. Then when I'm trying to buy a party dress, I'll probably give a very vague uh, query and then try to look at what options probably the site is coming back with for me, which means how exactly that query to content mapping that happens in search, how much focus is there varies. Just to take an example of ride hailing, if I'm always trying getting down at a specific point like Adigas, which is in Indranagar, and when I'm trying to search for Adigas there, I shouldn't be going through 10 different options of all Adigas in Bangalore to find out where I want to get down. The recommendation there or the search response there should be catering to my own need, and I should be spending very less time hitting the right Adigas for me to get down, right? Whereas when I'm looking for a red party dress, there can be multiple options. There could be stripes, there could be frills. So the abstraction is what is kind of needed there. Then it's also about how much balance we want to put in between exploration versus exploitation, right? Or how much serendipity you want to add into those recommendations, exactly for the same reason between leisure and the necessary ones. That balance kind of has to vary with the algorithms. You cannot directly take one algorithm which was working for, let's say, grocery and directly apply it to fashion. And the last one is more about the promise that you're making to the customer. For example, when in the discovery, looking at in within what time will I get my food becomes very important, because it's an immediate need, and the same is for the cab. Whereas if you're talking about grocery, or let's say I'm calling a plumber home, then I'm kind of scheduling it at a specific time, and there the promise is a window. And when a promise is a window, adhering to it is much easier than making the right promise, which is like 13 minutes or 27 minutes, and adhering to that, right? So being able to predict that accurately and making the right promise when the customer is discovering the experience itself becomes more important for an on-demand category versus more relaxed delivery or a more kind of a slotted category. Then the last part is it depends on whether that inventory is being managed by the company itself as an own inventory, or it's a merchant inventory, because the cost aspect of showing the right items which need to be pushed out so that you can have the right levels of inventory also becomes part of the discovery problem, right? So these are just a few examples to highlight the lower level or the more granular differences that happen, though the problem at a high level looks the same, that you want to kind of model the relevance and be able to recommend products, right? So similarly, we'll move on to the other ones. So let's look at pricing. So if we look at pricing at a high level, it's the same problem. Either depending on the stage the company is at, either you want to kind of maximize the revenue or focus more on conversion and growth, or kind of a mix of both, which is like profitability. So that depends on where the organization is at, and accordingly the pricing will be kind of catering to that goal. And the result are almost the same in every pricing problem. There is demand, there is supply, and there is a cost involved in delivering that service, and there's a behavior model of how people convert at different prices and quality of the product, right? So though this problem looks the same, and I was trying to solve this problem for airlines for a long period, but when I came into the cab industry, what changed at the very beginning was the frequency and latency expectations of this decision to be made. So when a flight is there, it's there for sale for a year, for 300 days, and you have enough time to kind of forecast the demand, look at your routes and come up with the right price. Whereas when someone is looking for a cab within, let's say right now, being able to predict the to know what is the demand at that low level of granularity, and making the decision almost every 30 seconds is the it changes the whole methodology you would adopt to solve that problem. Stop my video. Okay. So the second point is about all these input factors that we spoke about, which is demand, supply, cost, conversion. How do we predict this? If you take a airline scenario, supply is pretty much fixed once you have announced the schedules. Only the demand is what you need to be predicted, and cost also doesn't vary over time a lot, right? Whereas if you think about a cap scenario, the demand that you need to predict is in a very small window of, let's say, the next 5 minutes demand or next 10 minutes demand at at the spatial granularity added to it, and every demand has an origin and destination. So imagine the level of sparsity that's there in the demand, and being accurate in prediction at that level is a significant challenge and complexity to handle. And not only that, even the supply has to be predicted, because the supply is also moving in this scenario, and the cost is variable based on how much effort is involved in delivering that service. In a high traffic time slot, your cost could be significantly higher than in a low traffic time slot, right? So that's what kind of makes the prediction itself challenging in an on-demand scenario versus a scenario where you have more time to um, do the or solve the same problem. The next factor is when we are modeling the conversion behavior. Most of these models which model the conversion behavior are non-linear in nature. They are not like simple linear price elasticity curve, which means the optimization problem itself becomes a non-linear optimization. And if you have enough time to solve it versus if you have a expectation of solving it within a few milliseconds, what kind of heuristics you apply to find that quickest and most optimal solution is what varies in these different scenarios. And the last part is it's not enough to just price for this session or this customer or this context. If you're talking about either hyperlocal delivery or cab hailing scenario, where the cab ends up also matters, because the further rides that that cab gets or further orders a particular delivery executive gets affects your overall end of day metrics, which means some way you need to account for that nth order effect in this pricing decision, so that you can shape your demand the right way to achieve the 10th order goal, is another level of complexity that is added, which does not exist in a scenario where you're doing a airline pricing, where you already have a schedule that is published and you don't have those nth order effects to cater to in pricing, right? So that's about pricing. Now we move on to matching and routing, which is how do you kind of map the supply side to the demand side. So it could either be, for example, one-on-one matching, or it could be 1:n, where multiple orders are being kind of delivered by the uh, same executive or the same vehicle, right? Which means to solve this problem, usually, like most organizations solve it in a very straightforward way to begin with. Either you do a first come first serve of giving the closest one or the minimum time one, or you make it a self select solution where the customer itself is kind of selecting which vehicle they want to get. For example, in a lot of self drive vehicles, you choose the vehicle rather than it being allocated to you, right? So you start off like this, but quickly, as the number of requests and order scale, this becomes a suboptimal solution, because you select a vehicle, and that so because of the concurrency, it just vanishes and it leads to bad experiences, stockouts. So soon you need to move into where you're kind of aggregating the demand and solving an assignment problem, or aggregating the demand and helping the supply side choose the right demand for themselves, where you're kind of broadcasting it. And when you move to this, there are other layers of complexity that come in, which I spoke about, which is how do you kind of batch these requests so that multiple requests can be catered by the same vehicle or the same delivery agent. And once you have made a decision, how to kind of keep re-optimizing that decision and not get stuck or frozen with one decision made. Because if there is a better swap possible, maybe 2 minutes down the line, then you can kind of swap that and make a better decision or a more optimal decision. And And of course, none of these optimization problems have a single objective, right? Because you need to cater to the cost, you need to cater to the promise that you have made to the customer, you need to keep the supply side happy and well utilized. There need to be fairness in the way supply side is earning. You need to also take care of shaping for the nth order effects that we spoke about. So how exactly do you kind of map all these problems, which are multi-objective in nature, and solve in the same assignment decision that you're making? So for this also, there are multiple ways to solve this. One way is, one bottom line is, if you don't know the trade-offs between those, and there is no hierarchy of what is more important for the organization, no optimization solution can solve this problem, right? But given there is some level of understanding of what is more important than the other, or there is a currency of exchange between these, it can all be kind of scalarized or linearized to one equation. If that's not possible, then there is another way of kind of defining something called as, unfavorable or a favorable assignment, and trying to model that and put that as part of the objective function. Or there are other criteria of like getting Pareto optimal solutions and finding the slope to get the currency. There are multiple methods, but for but this is one common theme that is observed across these organizations. There are multiple objectives to cater to, and the exact currency or equation between them is not known, and hence the assignment problem becoming more and more challenging. And the last part is whether once this assignment is made, there is also a routing aspect of how that particular vehicle needs to traverse through all the pickup and delivery points of these requests, and how exactly that routing should happen, and whether all permutations of that should be considered within this problem or not, is another scale challenge that this problem needs to handle. Now coming to the last two parts, the location zone. So this looks like a spatial clustering problem, but that itself has multiple formulations. When we are talking about, let's say, slotted grocery delivery where you have scheduled slots, then the location zoning could be where exactly to have your distribution points so that you have good coverage of the entire city. In which case, it will be more like finding the locations of the hubs and forming zones around them. Whereas if we are talking about delivery zones and delivery agents being part of them, then keeping the delivery agent within his zone becomes more important, so that the time and miles are not wasted of the delivery agent. So the zone definition itself could be a source destination pair, right? And when you're talking about ride hailing scenarios where cars are moving throughout the city, then finding the zones which are like hotspots, which are kind of can be mapped and help drivers move to the right location to find demand, is another kind of a location clustering problem. So within the location zones and identifying these clusters itself, there are multiple problems to be solved across these different convenience players. Now coming to the last part of payments and incentivization, here there are three parts, right? So when we think about coming up with the right payment and incentivization structure for the supply side, we need to account for the effort that is made in delivering these orders. What is the earning expectation of the supply side? And we also need to ensure there is no exploitation, or there is some level of fairness across the community, right? How to kind of cater to all of these. So when you find solutions, either you will find those which are more consistently delivering earnings but have a lower mean or lower level of earnings, which is lower mean and lower variance. Or if you try to kind of increase the level of earnings with several incentivization schemes, the variance increases. Though the mean also increase, the variance also increases across the base of the supply. So which means the solution that we actually need is something that can deliver higher mean with lower variance, right? And to come up with this, which means somewhere we need to protect for the downside and provide opportunities for the high side or the upside for the delivery executives or the drivers to earn that. And at the same time, there needs to be the not only the carrot but the stick approach of penalizing bad behavior, so that whatever is within the control of the supply side, for example, you can log in a particular slot for so many hours, you can shape yourself at the right locations, you can deliver good customer experience. These are the expectations of the right behavior. so that they are rewarded more and bad behavior is penalized, right? And at the same time, this also needs has a validation challenge. For example, if there is an interaction between customer and a delivery executive and an order is delivered, it's easy to validate that this order was delivered. But think about an agent who has to go around repairing vehicles that are lying at different locations for a self-drive mobility startup. Then validation of whether the task was done itself becomes an AI challenge to solve, and hence payment and incentivization should be tagged to that validation as well. So I hope that kind of gave a good fast, I know I went like an express train within 20 minutes of summarizing that there are data science models hidden in every decision being made for these convenience startups. And that involves whether it's understanding customers and partners, whether it's optimizing with predicted inputs, or validating without human intervention whether something happened or not. And hence I can say that it's all looks at like the same problem or the same big list of problems to solve at a high level. Whereas when you go deeper into each of these, different convenience players, then it becomes a swarm of, multiple problems to be solved and multiple nuances to be catered to. So that's kind of the summary of the talk. So now we can kind of are open to questions.
Thanks, Goda. I think we have started getting the questions. So the first question is from Ashutosh, and he is asking that in recommendation task, does company focus on explainability part or only focus on maximizing rewards? So
Sorry,
how
I'm
do
not able to see the questions. One second.
uh,
Yeah,
you
now I
can
can
find
see.
them in Q&A chat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, now I can see it. In recommendation task, does company focus on explainability or only focus? It should be a balance, would be my answer, Ashutosh. Kind of explanation as to why that product is being recommended for you. That I think builds a good empathy and connect with the customer. So it should be a mix of both, that is explainable as well as kind of maximizing rewards for the company. It's not one or the other.
So, Goda, I have one question for you.
Yes.
So,
Hmm.
I think it's really interesting how you have shown that the same looking problem, like matching problem or incentivizing problem, when we get into from 10K to 1K kind of a view, there are kind of specific nuances of these problems which need to be taken into account. So, I wanted to basically understand. So, it's a two-part question. First of all, do you want to talk about the approach or methodology that you use to kind of break down a commercial use case presented to you into a data science or optimization or machine learning kind of a problem? So, is there a methodology that you approach to define what is exactly ML problem or optimization problem here? So, that's first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, as in there are additional challenges deploying these solutions in the practical settings, in the production settings. So do you want to touch upon quickly on that point as well? What additional things that you have to look around beyond finalizing and building your best trained model in training setting?
Got it. Okay, so for the first part of the question as to breaking down the business use case to the data science problem to be solved, what has personally worked for me is what I kind of touched upon in this slide. It's called a drive train approach, which is you start with the goal, then you keep asking a series of questions as to, for achieving this goal, what decisions are we making, and to make this decision, what information is required, right? And typically what happens is the prediction models or some pattern recognition models that we need to build become part of the information that needs to be provided, and the optimization model that needs to be built becomes part of the decision that needs to be made. And doing this kind of, or approaching it this way, solves two problems. One is it gives us a blueprint view to solve the problem in its entirety, all the sub problems that need to be solved. Because if the information is incomplete, we know we cannot make the decision very well. So it gives us a good way to plan all the subtasks or the sub models that need to be built as part of the project. And second thing is it also helps us understand where this particular model will be used, and hence at the time of decision making what information will be available. Because often whether we have some kind of a feature leakage issues, or at the time of deployment we realize that this particular information is not available for the model, or it will not be flowing in at the time of the decision making, most of those could be avoided because you have this upfront view of where the model will be used and how it will be used. With respect to your second question on the deployment challenges, I've seen a lot of challenges happening when we did not have a focused team that focuses on the ML platform and the ML engineering aspects of it, and where most of the model deployment is ad hoc, right? Whereas when I came to Swiggy, one thing that I realized here is how the whole process is very streamlined, because there is a dedicated team whose core own objective is to make sure data science models go into production in a smooth manner. And all related aspects of how the model should be served, what are the latency requirements, throughput requirements, all of that is catered to by this team, and that's what kind of helps us push models to production very smoothly here, which I find lacking in many other organizations.
Great. Thanks a lot, Goda. Thank you so much for this really
One
interesting
more
and
question.
informative talk. Yeah, I think we have one more question. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, I'll just answer it 1 minute and we can wind up the
yes.
session. If there are multiple objectives in optimization, how time factor influence? I did not exactly understand the question. Is this more about how it varies dynamically with time, the different objectives? Suman, if you could just type what you meant in the chat. Sorry, Suman, I could not understand the question.
Maybe we can take this question in the chat window offline.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Goda, for
Cool.
this really
Thank you.
interesting and informative talk. And you really, as in, talked about all practical aspects of addressing industry problems with 10K to 1K kind of a view, and applying these problems and addressing these with machine learning and data science. Thank you so much for your time.